afternoon, time of o'clock on this Christmas Eve. It's on a train with the very lovely Ashley Monroe. Okay, my special guest this afternoon is PC Andy Robinson. He's from the South Yorkshire Police, and he's come to give us some help and advice over Christmas to hang on to our belongings. And of course, these days, everybody's got things like mobile phones in the car, they've got sat-navs, and again, it's a burglar's paradise, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's certainly in the last couple of weeks, Mel, when I've been looking at the crime figures, we've had a number now of satellite navigation systems stolen out of cars, and quite often it's just been probably the situation that a number of us have been faced with, where you come in at night, you've had a busy day, it's Christmas, everything's exciting, and the kids are rushing around and wanting to talk to you because they've not seen you all day, and you come home and you forget that the sat-nav's in the car because you're eager to get in and meet the family and enjoy yourselves, and some of those opportunities have been exploited by some of our offenders who've just simply either walked into cars by opening a door that's been left unlocked, or alternatively smashed a window and grabbed a sat-nav. And obviously there's a ready market for these potentially, so the thing to do is to do as we suggested before, just take a moment. We're not saying there's a crime epidemic out there. What we're saying is take sensible precautions and you won't be a victim. So think about it when you're out and about, whether it's going to the shops, whether that's in Rotherham, in Sheffield, in Meadowhall, wherever it is that you're going to go shopping. If you've got your sat-nav there, before you get out to go and plunder through the sales, make sure that you take the sat-nav system with you, slot it in your pocket, put it in your inside pocket, take it away with you. It's going to be there to show you the way home and there for the rest of the year.
The thing is, the more things that we have, like mobile phones, sat-navs, everything. I mean, the amount of people who do, I've seen them do ridiculous things like, you know, they're driving, they take the watch off because it's annoying them, put it on dashboard.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, a few years since I used to do quite a bit of work around vehicle crime prevention, and if you speak to offenders, they are quite happy to break into somewhere for £3 or £4, which might be change that you've dropped on the dashboard. You know, a lot of people have these sort of semi-sticky mats that you can drop things onto. £3 or £4, it's changed from a toll bridge, or it's changed from you've been and got a paper, and you think, well, I'll leave it in because it's handy to have a bit of cash. If it's cash, it spends the same in the offender's pocket as it does in yours, and that's what they're after. If you've got a sat-nav system and it's worth £150, they might get 25 quid for that.
Yep.
If they find £5, it's £5. There's no loss to them by finding cash. So
I don't know if it was you actually, or was somebody else who came up who said, always leave a bit of money in car. Not masses of money, you know, £5 or £6 or something like that. Because once they break in and they've got the £5 or £6, they might leave your radio alone.
Well, I've heard that argument offered before. I think if items of value are on display, what we want to do is try and prevent that from happening at all, because anything that's of any value to someone else.
I'm just thinking of someone who's going to break into a car. They don't want to sit there all day just looking around, see if you've got a sat-nav and a watch, and once they look in your little glove compartment and they see about £6 or £7, they might just think, right, we'll grab that, we'll grab radio, and we'll call it a day.
I see what you're saying. There's an argument to be made. I mean, my view would be, don't leave valuable items in your car, and consider what items are valuable as well. Small amounts of cash could be considered to be valuable by offenders. Sunglasses. And again, think about these days.
£200 for a pair of sunglasses.
Exactly right. It's chucking it down with rain today, but yesterday was very bright and sunny. People might be wearing their nice Dolce & Gabbana sunglasses yesterday.
Yeah.
Leave them on the dash. It's well worth an offender thinking about getting into your car for that, and you will suffer a significant loss if they go.
Yeah.
So think about those sort of things, and also think when we go into the sales, let's think about how we shop, because if we're going to go in and get a bag full of goodies at bargain prices, that's great. But the temptation might be, I'll go and get an armful, put them in the car, then I'll go back and get another armful, you know, because I've got fresh hands then to buy more stuff. I would suggest one trip. Get everything you want in one trip and go back to the car, put the goodies in the boot, put the boot down, and away you go. And if you do feel the need to make a couple of trips, lock and secure the items into the boot. Once again, in recent weeks, we've had a couple of occasions where people have left items on the back seat in full view, and when they've come back, somebody's taken advantage of that opportunity and stolen them.
And let's face it, you know, that's what burglars are all about. It's they're opportunists, aren't they?
Yeah, an awful lot of our crime is opportunistic in nature. People walking around looking for something to do. So They don't necessarily go out today thinking, I'm going to break into a car, I'm going to break into a house, I'm going to break into a shed. They look round and think, there looks as though there's something easy to do there, so I'll have a crack at that, because I need some cash, or I need some goods to turn into cash. And that's it with lots of things, Mel. If we can keep people alert to the fact that by spending just those vital 5 seconds, if you think when you park your car up, if you just pause for 5 seconds and think, have I got my phone, have I got my sat nav, have I made sure that I've got my wallet in my inside pocket so it's nice and safe? Is everything sorted? Is there anything on the back seat that I don't want to be there because it might be a temptation to offenders?
Unless you want to get rid of the mother-in-law, leave her on back seat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
5 seconds, it's all done. You can resume your journey and everybody's happy.
It's like everything else though, Andy. It's all about thinking, being sensible, and I suppose another way to look at it, put yourself as a burglar. What do you want? You want stuff that comes out of the car quickly, easily, and it's got a good value.
Absolutely right. And I mean, sometimes that's a good way to work. I remember when I first got trained in crime reduction, that was one of the ways they said, approach a house and think like an offender. How would you get in? So if you think about your own home, if you came home tonight from work and you'd lost your keys and you couldn't get in, how would you find a way to get into your own home? And you might say, well, I know I've got a dodgy window there, and I'd go through that. Might an offender find it then as well? I'd go through the bathroom window, I always leave it open. Well, then somebody else could get in the same way. And if you think about how you get in, it's the same way as an offender would want to get into your house. He doesn't want to smash a lot of glass. You don't, because you've got it to pay for. If you have to smash your way into your own home and call somebody out, they don't want to smash a lot of glass because it makes a lot of noise.
It does, yes. Yeah. One more thing then before the break. There's always now the big question about if anyone breaks into your house, what do you do?
Yes.
I mean, you don't do what the man did in Manchester and get a sawed-off shotgun and blow his head off.
Yes.
What is forcible? What is
reasonable force?
Reasonable force. What is reasonable force?
Well, the great difficulty that people have got across the country is that there's no legal definition for reasonable force. It's up to the court or the solicitors that are looking at the case to decide whether what you've done is reasonable or not. The way that I would interpret reasonable force is, if somebody is in your property and you come downstairs and you want to get them out and they start to run away, is there any need then for you to use any sort of force on them at all? Not really, because they're on their way out.
The only one thing there, Andy, is people get very angry when people break into your house. And okay, you know, you might be a 6'7" strapping kind of guy, and this little 5'2" man try to break into your house. Okay, I know what you're saying. If he's running away, is there any reason to break his legs?
That's what I'm saying, really. If he's running away, if you were of a mind to be chasing after him and you were able to apprehend him, I would suggest that, you know, these days you keep hold of him until the police arrive. But if you've got hold of him in a fairly tight grasp, then there's no necessity to go any further than that. And if you did, I would suggest
don't strangle him, right?
Well, I would suggest going to those lengths is unreasonable force. But I mean, obviously, our suggestion as a police service would be that you don't put yourself in the position where you're going to be grappling with folks, because you don't know what else they're carrying with them, what frame of mind they've been in, whether they've been taking something that makes them see things in a different light.
Right. Yeah.
You don't know what you're going to be confronted with when you get there, and heaven forbid that anything goes wrong. And especially at this time of year, what we all crave for is nice presents, but we also want good health, don't we?
We do, yes.
And so, you know, think about you, think about what it is, think about whether you can replace the mobile phone. And of course you always can. You can always get a new mobile phone, but what you can't do is reclaim the couple of days that you had to spend, unfortunately, perhaps in hospital because you came out worse. So think about all those things.
It's very difficult though, isn't it?
It's very difficult because
I mean,
as a household,
I don't know about you. Have you always been lucky? I've never had a burglary.
No, I've once, a lot of times since, and it makes you feel angry. And I've spoken to many victims who have, you know, some of them are very upset, and others are very angry about what went off. And I entirely understand that.
Yeah.
What you have to do, however, is draw a line there and say...
It's difficult, this, Andy.
It is. Am I angry enough to warrant putting myself potentially in court because of something that I've done? And then that comes to the time when we have to try and determine whether what the force you've used is reasonable or not. And so the simple answer is, I mean, what I would say is, if you hear noises downstairs and you know everything's quiet and you think you can't understand why, if you put lights on upstairs and make a noise, the likelihood that
they'll run away anyway.
There will leave.
Yeah.
And then when you go downstairs,
because he doesn't want a confrontation either, does he?
They don't want to get caught.
No, they don't. No.
They don't want to. They don't want to have any visual contact with anyone. Because if I see you,
and you see me,
yeah,
we know what we look like, don't we?
I will remember things about you, won't I?
Yeah.
Which might lead to your apprehension. If I never see you, then unless you've left forensic evidence behind or something like that, you may not get caught.
Yeah.
And offenders don't want to get caught, especially this time of year, because they like to be out for Christmas as well.
Yeah. Mind you, if you want to be out for Christmas, don't try breaking into people's houses.
Is exactly the right message, yes.
Let me tell you about a girl I know. She's my baby and she lives next door. In the morning when the sun comes up, she brings me coffee and my